Well, hey everybody. Welcome to the channel. My name, of course, is John, and this is just a very casual, open, ask me anything session. You got stuff you want to ask about regarding the channel, YouTubing, some technology questions, anything really. Whatever you guys want to talk about, you can ask me anything. You know, Ann and I got back from dinner, and I realized, I've got some time before I have to do a couple of other things before Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power comes on later tonight. So I thought we would do a little Ask Me Anything. Now, normally what I do when I do an Ask Me Anything is I jump in the community tab on the channel and I just do it via text. But I thought, you know what, why not do it via video? And we'll do it that way. So there's two different ways you can send in questions if you'd like. One, you can use the super chats. That'll make sure that your question gets read. Or you can even just send in some questions in the regular chat, and I'll try to read off a bunch of questions in the regular chat as well. And again, this isn't like the John Campea Show. It's not even open mic. You don't have to write in questions about movies and TV shows. Like, you can save those for later. But if you got questions about anything else in general, like again, from the software I use, hardware I use, YouTube trends, whatever it is you guys want to talk about, I will do my best to give you guys an answer, and we'll take it from there. So yeah, a little bit of a heads up. You guys know that I've been starting to take Fridays off work. So tomorrow I won't be on the John Campea Show, but still make sure you tune in because, Rob and Chris and Amy will be there. Ray and Jonathan will be there too. And then I will probably stick my nose in. I'll stick my nose in on the show for the Rings of Power after show. So I'll probably be on like half of the Rings of Power after show tomorrow afternoon. So yeah, I've been really enjoying having Fridays off. It's just I've been killing myself for years doing the show every day. So it's kind of nice to have a little bit of a break. Okay, so let's do what I said we would do and take your questions. So I've got Josh Kahn is writing in. He's asking, is Disney/Marvel gaslighting Daredevil fans with how they marketed him in the trailers and teasing him in the show? I don't see why they marketed him so much. Well, they didn't really, let's be honest, let's be clear. They didn't really market him very much at all. Like, they showed, I don't think in any of their marketing did we hear him say a single line of dialogue. They showed the one shot where he lands on his feet and kind of turns his head, and that's kind of been it. So really, they've been marketing him so much. I don't agree. I really don't think they've been marketing him that much at all. So I think they're okay. Let's see. Jake Kamara writes, hey, John, love the show. Thank you so much. If this next episode is the Daredevil one, will you tune in one more time for She-Hulk, and could it actually redeem itself? Yeah, so I kind of said earlier today that I'm kind of over She-Hulk, not because of anything they do, not because I don't find anything wrong with the show. I love the concept of the show. Tatiana Maslany is great in the show. I love the idea of an Ally McBeal 30-minute sitcom sort of idea. I love all that. The problem for me, and you guys have heard me talk about this for the last couple of weeks, because I love the first episode, absolutely loved the first episode. But it's just been really sinking into me that the show's just not funny. I like everything about the show, but it's a comedy that doesn't make me laugh. So I don't think, so I finally had enough, and I'm tapped out. But like I said on open mic earlier today, I kind of mentioned that I will probably watch the Daredevil episode. So once people tell me, hey John, the newest episode had Daredevil in it, I'll probably go back and watch that. All right. Orange Hand writes, I think you touched on this before, but can ball players like Aaron Judge be compared to olden folk like Babe Ruth or Mickey Mantle? You can't really, because there's so many differences. The game has changed. The level of competition they're playing against has changed. The equipment has changed. Like all sorts of things. Like all you can really do is compare stats, and stats are stats. But really, truly trying to compare them. And by the way, I just noticed that Parth Trivedi just gifted 5 John Campea memberships to people in here watching this. Thank you so much for that, Parth. That's incredibly generous of you. Thanks, man. Anyway, so you can compare stats because stats is all you have to go by, right? But to really compare them, say who was better, Mickey Mantle or Aaron Judge, you can't really do that because they are such different eras. It's like trying to say who was better, Gordie Howe or Mario Lemieux. Well, yeah, they played in two completely different eras, so they played different games, really. It's really difficult to say. It's a great question, Orange Hand. I like the question. All right, let's keep going on here. Next up, we have, who was that? That was Orange Hand, I think. Right, here we go. Parker writes, have you seen The Woman King? It's amazing. Have not yet. I'm going to go this weekend. It came out again, I had a press screening I was invited to, but I couldn't go. Then last weekend was an incredibly packed weekend for Ann and I, so we didn't get to see it. So I'm going to try to get out to go see it tomorrow afternoon while Ann is off volunteering at a thing. So I'm probably going to hope to see it tomorrow, but I've been looking forward to it ever since I saw the preview for it when they showed us a bunch of the film at CinemaCon earlier this year. So I haven't seen it, but I'm really looking forward to it. Let's see. Have you read, or from Jake Camara writes, have you read Chris Rock's response to the apology? If you're talking about the one who put out the next day where he said, F your apology, then yes. If he's put out a new one, then no, I haven't seen it. I'm completely over the Will Smith thing, but I said on the show, like, I don't expect the Academy or Chris Rock to be over it. I mean, they're the ones it happened to. But for me, I've kind of moved on from it. All right. The Super Ranger Mud Truck writes, hey, John, what are your thoughts on the Spectacular Spider-Man? I just finished watching it and wow, the writing was fantastic. From what I've read, both comic book fans and critics love the show. I know I do. I don't like it. I'm not a fan. I only, now granted, I only watched like 2 or 3 episodes of it a while ago. But honestly, with a couple of big exceptions, I generally don't like anything direct-to-home video or direct-to-TV animation-wise that Marvel or DC has done. There are a couple of exceptions to that, a couple of big exceptions to that, but generally speaking, I'm not a fan of Spectacular Spider-Man, although I know Ray does. All right. Caleb Waller, but I'm glad you like it, man, because Ray loves it too. Caleb Waller writes, aside from reclining seats or better screens, what are your thoughts on the future technology of cinema theaters? I don't really know. Like, to me, the comfort of the theater is the primary thing. So now we've got theaters that are dine-in theaters where they serve you food. Oh, and by the way, that came to us from Caleb Waller. The dine-in theaters that'll serve us food. They have theaters where the seats are actually fully extended beds with blankets and pillows and stuff like that. The next big advancement in technology that'll be a quote-unquote game changer will be 3D where glasses aren't required. Other than that, okay, 4K, 6K, 8K. Listen, the human eye can only perceive so many pixels. And the sound is already immaculate. The picture is fantastic. The only real thing I can see, like I said, is 3D without needing glasses. All right, Joshua Limming writes, hey, John, I was watching an old AMC show with the late, great John Schnepp. Can you tell us how you guys met? Thanks for everything. Yeah, well, the way John Schnepp and I met was Marvel had just announced that they were doing a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And I had read some Guardians of the Galaxy, but I didn't really know a lot about Guardians of the Galaxy. So I reached out to a friend of mine who ran this organization. And I asked him if he knew a lot about Guardians of the Galaxy. And that friend of mine said, no, but I know a guy and I work with a guy who knows like everything about Guardians of the Galaxy. Let me put you in touch with him. And that guy was John Schnepp. Schnepp and I touched base with each other. We decided he would come on as a guest. He did the first show with us talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, and he and I talked afterwards. And I said, that was a lot of fun. He said, yeah, man, that was great. I said, you want to come back and be a guest again? And sure enough, he said yes. And then after doing that a couple of times, he said, you know what? Why don't you come work with me here? Come work with me. Why don't you come become a regular? And that's how John Schnepp and I started working together. All right. Dia Alishauer writes, what is your gym routine? What's your split like? So generally my gym routine is, I get up at about 5 in the morning. I'll do some work as soon as I wake up prepping for the show. And then once I've sent off the show notes, I usually have about an hour or so window. And that's when I head over to the UFC center. We've got a UFC center right here that I've been training at for like 10 years. So I go over there. Generally, lately, what I've been like, I used to do, back and bicep day, chest and shoulder day, tricep and leg day, right? I used to do that, but I found for me what I enjoy more, and it just makes it an easy routine. Because if I miss a day here or there, trying to keep track of what I'm on, I just do a general one set of everything every day. Like, so I basically do a full body every day, but not super intense. And that's kind of the way the way I've been working out. I just find it really works for me. I just find it's good for me. Okay. Let's see. Brandon Nezamuddin writes, I know you haven't seen it yet, but Pearl is fantastic, and Mia Goth should absolutely be in the running for Best Lead Actress, at least right now. Now Pearl, this is the one that is the follow-up to X, right? If I'm not mistaken. It's the sequel to X, or the prequel to X. I didn't like X. I'm one of the only people I know who didn't like X, even though it looks like totally the type of show that was made for me. But I didn't like it, so I haven't had any interest in watching Pearl. But who knows? I might get around to it sooner or later. Like, I keep hearing decent things about it, so I might have to check it out. But then again, everybody loved X and I didn't, so we'll see. All right, LJ writes. Let's see. Hey, love the show. Thank you so much. What do you think about The Woman King? I love it. Great acting and story. Already kind of addressed it. I went through all the reasons why I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but hopefully I'm going to see it on Saturday. That's the plan, is for me to see it on Saturday. All right, Jonathan Teft writes, after seeing Bullet Train, who do you think has the better directing career, Chad Stahelski or David Leitch? They both starred in John Wick 1. I'll be honest with you. I keep confusing which ones have done which. I keep confusing. I think David is the one who did Deadpool, right? I'll go David. If that's who I'm working. It was David, right? That did Deadpool 2. Why don't I just look it up here? Deadpool 2 IMDb. But I think it was David that did Deadpool 2. So let's see here. Directed by, David Leitch. So I'm going to go with David. He seems to have the broader, the overall better resume right now. So I'm going to go with him. But I mean, I like what both of them are doing. I really do. Okay. Joshua McGregor writes, okay, maybe personal, but how does payroll work when Aaron comes in for a day or Amy for 2? Are they considered part-time? Okay, so a fair question. So I break my quote-unquote employees up into 2 categories. I have full-time staff, and then I have contractors, right? So my full-time staff, they're actually on payroll, right? So guys like Ray and Jonathan, and full-time staff are on payroll. So I have an accountant that works with me, and they run payroll, every 2 weeks or, twice a month we run payroll, and they get paid what their salary is. And then people like Amy and people like Chris and people like Aaron, they're contractors. So every month they send me an invoice for the amount of shows they've done, and I agree to pay them a certain rate per show and blah, blah. And I pay them out individually every month based on the invoices they send me. So I have full-time staff that is on payroll, and then I have contractors that invoice me. So I hope that that clears that up. I hope that answers your question, man. All right, Caleb writes, hey, John, have you caught up with any WWE in the last couple of months since Triple H took over? If so, any thoughts? I haven't. I basically haven't watched a lot of wrestling for many years now. Like every year I will tune into a couple of the big pay-per-views. Like absolutely, Ann and I watch WrestleMania every year. We're probably going to go to the next WrestleMania. And then, I'll watch a SummerSlam or something like that. But quite honestly, the only wrestling news I hear of, I pick up on my Facebook feed, or, Ray keeps me up to date. But generally speaking, I don't keep up with wrestling too much right now. But I was really happy to hear that Triple H took over. Let's see. Ryan Gregor writes, hey, John, The Rookie is returning this Sunday at 10 p.m. Also, Rookie Feds is coming on Tuesday. Can't wait. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not tremendously interested in Rookie Feds. I didn't like the setup show. I didn't like the character. But, I'll probably give it a shot. But I really do love The Rookie. I love all the different characters on The Rookie. And obviously, I love Nathan Fillion, good Canadian kid. So yeah. All right. Next up, we got Christian Rower, who writes, have you ever seen Chuck with Zachary Levi? Oh, yes, I have. Talk about a show with a lot of entertaining characters. Hope they bring it back someday. Okay, now indulge me for a second here. I'm going to see if I can find something. So I loved Chuck. And by the way, what's her name? I'm trying to remember how you say, what's the name of the girl who is the lead actress in that? And then she's in Handmaid's Tale. What's her damn name again? I can't, guys in the live chat, help me out. What's that girl's name? She's now one of the stars of Handmaid's Tale, and she was the lead girl in Chuck. And it's not Ella Moss, Yvonne Strahovski. That's right. I had a chance to interview her too. She's great, and she's so good in Handmaid's Tale. But let me see if I can bring this up. I'm not 100% sure I can. I will try. Give me a second here. There we go. This is me with the cast, except for Yvonne, with the whole cast of Chuck. I actually did as you guys know, at Comic-Con, I would have a panel every year called the Masters of the Web panel. And for a couple of years, we ran a party called the Masters of the Web party. And a lot of the celebs would come to the party too. But this one year, the entire cast, including, you see Zach Levi up there and whatever, the entire cast came to the party. And they gathered around with me, got a shot. So this is years ago. But yeah, man, I loved that show. I thought that show was great. I had a great time with that show. All right. Thanks a lot for asking, man. Okay. Next up, give me a second here as I try to get reacclimated here. Give me a second here. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, next up we've got Red Arrow 1361 who says, I'm writing my first Marvel video essay. Advice. I have no advice to give. I've never written a video essay. Unless you're talking about like an editorial. I don't know, just do your research. Do your research and read it back to yourself many, many, many times. Try to listen to it through the ears of somebody who doesn't know the material, Red Arrow. Good luck with that. Aiden Foley writes, hey, John, I heard you got around to Jurassic World Dominion. Yes. What did you think of it? I thought it was terrible. Personally, wanted to love it, though. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate Jurassic World Dominion. I'd heard a lot of really bad things about it and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, I thought it was okay. Some really, really stupid stuff in it. Like, for sure. I can't deny there were some monumentally dumb things in it. Completely there was. But you know what? Overall, I thought it was okay. All right. James Germain writes, hey, John, did you get to see how they run? If so, did you like it? For my theater, it was completely empty, but I thought it was good. What did you think? I never did see it. We talked about this the other day because I've been dying to see this movie ever since I saw the trailer. It's Sam Rockwell, Saoirse Ronan. The trailer looked amazing. And the movie came out and I didn't even realize it came out. That's how bad of a job they did marketing this thing. I didn't even know the damn movie was coming out. Didn't even know. So yeah, unfortunately, I have not had a chance to see it yet. I really do want to see it. But yeah, the reason the damn theater was empty was because they didn't let anybody know the movie was actually coming out. I mean, it's odd. It's very, very odd. But yeah, there you go. Okay, let's see here. Next up, we got Cosmix, who writes, hello, Mr. Campea. I totally recommend the anime series Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Not interested, to be honest with you. It's based on the Cyberpunk game, and it takes place years before the story mode in the game. I hope to be like you someday. Well, thank you so much for that. Yeah, I tried Cyberpunk, and I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it. So, to be honest with you, I really have no interest in watching an animated anything that's surrounding the game, just because the game didn't really work for me. But I'm sure probably Cosmix, a lot of people, you just let a lot of people know about it, and they're probably going to go check it out and they'll probably enjoy it. So that's a good thing. So thank you for sharing that, Cosmix. I appreciate it. All right. Ryan Ramirez writes, Hey, John, when is the name change coming? The name change is coming soon, actually. I anticipate by the end of the year, we will do the name change. And the name change is indeed going to be called Press Play. Press Play is the new name of the, is going to be the new name of the channel and the new name of the show. And that will be coming. Right now, we're working on just getting all the images and graphics and the branding and all that kind of stuff together. And once we do, we'll do the switch over. So within the next couple of months, we will make the shift. All right. Next up, the Super Ranger Mud Truck writes, also love the show. Keep it going, man. Thank you so much. I tuned in during the No Way Home speculations, and I've been watching ever since every day. Thanks, and bring on the filthy. Well, thank you so much for that, Super Ranger. Listen, I often get a lot of messages from people saying, hey, I've been watching you since the AMC days or the Collider days or the For Your Consideration days. I love also hearing from people who are recent members to our community. So thank you so much, and thanks for being a part of it, man. I appreciate that, Mud Truck. All right. Mr. Drover writes, is there a substantial difference between people from Ontario and people from LA? Yes. I always curious about how much Canada is influenced by Hollywood. See, this is one thing I tell people, and I really noticed this when I moved to LA. Canada and the US really share 90% of the same pop culture, but we have very different culture, right? 90% we share the same pop culture. Like we get all the same pop cultural references and all that kind of stuff, and we all watch the same media and whatever. But culturally, we are quite different. At the risk of just enforcing stereotypes, like Canadians are far more polite, far more courteous. Now, obviously, I'm a Canadian, so I mean, what else am I going to say? But yeah, a lot of cultural differences, but almost identical pop cultural experiences, if that makes sense to you. All right, thanks a lot for that, Mr. Drover. Sinister Sunset writes, I had a rough 2021. A lot of people did, my friend. Turned it around this year and have lost 80 pounds. Dear God, that's impressive. Well done. Since February. Thanks to you and your crew for the entertainment, expertise, and humor. Well, man, I'm glad you're having a good year. And seriously, dude, losing 80 pounds. First of all, losing 20 pounds is insane. Losing 80 pounds since February? Dude, good on you. I mean, again, if you're somebody who doesn't feel like losing weight, that's fine. You be you. That's the important thing. But if you wanted to lose weight and you set out to do that, that's not an easy thing. So congrats to you, man. That's awesome. All right. Mickey Veach writes, what's more likely to happen first, that Spawn movie or the Crow reboot? I'll be surprised if either happens this decade. I actually think the Crow reboot is moving forward. I think that one is moving forward. So, and I don't think this Spawn movie is ever going to happen, at least not the one that's in development right now. I don't think that one's going to happen at all. I mean, it might, but I don't think it will. So I think the Crow reboot is the more likely to happen there, Mickey. All right, My Comic Planet writes, David Fincher 7 was released 27 years ago today. We talked about this on the Open Mic show earlier. John, do you think we could get a movie like 7 made with today's climate? Yeah. Yeah, you absolutely can. No doubt. No doubt. I mean, I always hear people who say, like, today you couldn't do this one thing you did 8 years ago or whatever. Like, I often hear people say, oh, they couldn't have made The Office today. They absolutely could have made The Office today. They absolutely could have. Because, like, all of the quote-unquote insensitive stuff in it was not being passed off as normal or okay. It was being passed off as completely insensitive stuff, and it was used as a way to make fun of the characters in the show. You absolutely could have, like, all these people say, oh, you could never do The Office today. Yes, you could have. And so, yeah, I would say, yes, you can do a movie like 7 today. Absolutely. But the problem is, are you going to be compared to 7? And I don't even think 7's the best movie of that type that came out of that era. Like, Usual Suspects, to me, is the better movie. But, yeah, you could do a 7 today, I think. All right. CJ Adams writes in, hey, John, your show inspired me to write a book. Nice. It's not done yet, but I'm getting there. Is there a way I can send it to you? I don't care if you read it, but I still want to send it to show my appreciation for everything you've done to inspire me in this community. Well, first of all, everybody says they want to write a book. Very, very few people actually put their nose down and get it done. So the fact that you're writing it is awesome. As far as, is there a way that you can send it to me? The answer to that is no. I don't give out any shipping addresses for anything. People say, oh, you get a P.O. box. Nope, I don't even like to do that. So no, unfortunately, there is not any way for you to send it to me, but that's okay. Just knowing that you wrote it is good enough for me, CJ. And thank you for the sentiment, though. All right. Jim Sandlin writes, Steelers or Browns tonight? I'm going to take Steelers. I think they're looking pretty good, so I'll go Steelers. LJ writes, I am watching Avatar tomorrow. Will you watch it? Oh, yeah. I'm going to go watch it in the theaters. I wasn't going to, but I've been getting more and more excited about it. It really is a movie you got to see on the big screen, LJ, so I think I'm going to go watch it again. All right. Let's see here. Let me just double check what my status is right now. Okay, we're looking good. Okay. Next up is Sam Fisher, who writes, have you started listening to the Andy Serkis Lord of the Rings audiobooks I recommended before Rings of Power started airing? No. I'm not going to be able to listen to those anytime this year. Maybe not even anytime next year. I'm just far too busy and far too slammed. Hell, I'm having a hard time just getting out to watch Woman King. So I don't have time to it, but I at some point, I definitely will. At some point, Sam, I definitely will. All right. Brandon Nope writes, what do you do when facing adversity? Listen, everybody faces adversity, right? Then there's a couple of questions you need to ask yourself when you do. One, evaluate how big the adversity really is. Because all adversity, when we come across it, looks insurmountable, right? It all looks insurmountable. But it's not. And you've got to try, even though every obstacle in your way will always look like it's a giant mountain, you got to be able to take a breath, take a step backwards, and then really evaluate truly how big of a piece of adversity is this. Is it insurmountable that I really do need to turn around and change directions? Because it feels like that at first. So the first thing I always say is take a day or two. When faced with incredible adversity, whatever it is, take your day or two if you have the time. Take a day or two and take a deep breath. Then turn back to the adversity, measure, is this really a big, and how big of a deal is it? And once you evaluate how big of a deal it is, then you can start to decide how you're going to navigate it. Listen, I can tell you for me, a lot of times in my life and career, I've faced adversity that I thought, oh, I just need to give up. But then after I take some time and I catch my breath and I really look at this situation, I think, you know what? This sucks. It's incredibly painful or inconvenient right now. But realistically, I know I can navigate this if I do this, or I know I can just get through this. I can just endure it and it will pass. And sometimes you face a legitimate problem where you realize, okay, I got to change directions. So my best piece of advice for anybody facing really big adversity is take a breath. Don't make any decisions immediately. Don't try to rethink your future or anything like that immediately. Take a breath, take a step back, give it a day or so, and then reevaluate. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, and I mean this wholeheartedly, 9 times out of 10, you'll realize that, okay, this looks and feels pretty bad, but honestly, it'll pass and I can just get through this. Sometimes you got to make some course corrections, but yeah, number one piece of advice, take a step back, take a deep breath, give it a day or two, and then reevaluate. All right. Let's see here. Next up on Only Giovanni writes, thoughts on Phantom OPF? I don't know what that means. The opera closing after 35 years. Oh, I mean like the actual Phantom of the Opera is closing? Well, man, if it is, I don't know much about it. That's an incredible run. It's an incredible run. Sing once again with me, our strange duet. My power over you grows stronger yet. Oh yeah, I used to love, actually I had to sing Phantom of the Opera when I was in school. But yeah, if it's done, it's done. It's had an incredible run. It's had an incredible run if that's the case. All right. Next up, Angela Dashner sends in like a $20 super chat. Thank you, Angela. She's one of our great supporters here on the channel. Angela writes, I'm also done with She-Hulk. I watched Top Gun Maverick at home. Wow, I liked it so much. More in the theater. Yeah, it really is a movie theater kind of movie, right? What movie have you seen that wasn't the same when you watched it at home? A number of them. One that really stands out to me, now this is going back a long ways. I was in high school, but Braveheart. Like, I remember watching Braveheart with those massive, and by the way, all the Lord of the Rings films too. I mean, they're great to watch at home on TV. They are great, but they are nothing compared to watching them on the big screen. But the first one for me that I really noticed that was Braveheart. You know, those sweeping landscapes, the battles, all that kind of stuff. Watching that movie on the big screen, and then, you know, a year or two later, watching it on a VHS tape. Because yes, at that time it was still VHS tapes. Watching it on the VHS tape was night and day difference. That's a big one for sure. All right, thanks a lot for sharing that, Angela. All right, next up, James Germain writes, I meant to say theater was completely empty. Oh, no worry, James, totally got your meaning, man. Totally got your meaning, no worries, but thank you for following up. Mickey Veach writes, remember when you failed to shake De Niro's hand at the Las Vegas press junket? Yes, I do. Good times, at least I think that was Las Vegas. It totally was Las Vegas. I'm not sure I have it. Give me a second. John Campea, Robert Niro, handshake. I just don't know if I can find this image or not. I don't think I can. Nope. But for those of you who knows what he's talking, I've shared the image before. Of me doing an interview with the cast of Las Vegas, Michael Douglas, Morgan Freeman, Robert De Niro, and I forget, why am I freezing on the name of the other guy? But anyway, and as I ended the interview, Robert De Niro stood up to shake my hand, and I had already turned around to start walking away. And there's this picture of me with my back turned to Robert De Niro with him reaching out his hand, and I left him hanging. Yeah, one of the worst professional moments of my life. All right, guys. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take just a quick break here, if you guys don't mind. I'm going to just take a quick 2 or 3 minute break. I'm going to use the bathroom. I'm going to refill my drink. So if you guys will just hang tight, I will be back in just a moment. I'll see you in a moment. Oh, by the way, a strange picture is going to come up that has nothing to do with anything. Yeah. Anyway, there's that. I'll be right back. All right, guys, and we are back. Thank you for giving me a moment there. Oh, actually, I'm not back. I forgot my phone. Give me 1 second. All right, and now we back. Sorry about that. Now I'm back. Very, very sorry about that. That took me, had to run back. I got to keep this on me because I'm expecting a couple of important things. Anyway, okay. Where do we leave off here? We left off with, yeah, the Robert De Niro thing. Okay, Landon Johnson writes, hello from Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Love the channel. Thank you so much, Landon. I've been watching you since 2015 and have never been able to catch live. So to send in a chat, thanks for the content. Well, thank you so much, Landon. You know, we talked about this before about one of the reasons we really like doing our 3 p.m. shows, like our after shows and open mic, and why I like doing either these open Q&As or sometimes John Campea After Dark is because of time zone differences and people's work schedules. A lot of people can never watch the John Campea Show live. So we like to do these videos so people who don't normally watch live have a chance to watch live. So we're glad you're here, Landon. And thanks for the support, man. Matthew Smith writes, go Cowboys. Yeah, good luck. Good luck. I am not a Cowboys fan. You know what? I can't even put my finger on really why I dislike the Cowboys so much. Because I've liked a number of their players over the years. I even like Dak. I do. I like Dak, but I hate the Cowboys. I don't know why, but I hope you have fun watching them this season, Matthew. All right. Mosun Zaman writes, recently rewatched Shutter Island. Man, I love that movie, but I still think he isn't crazy. That movie might be Marty Scorsese's most underrated film. You know what? It might even be Leo DiCaprio's most underrated film. Okay, so there's 3 movies that I would consider to be Leo DiCaprio's most underrated films. One is Shutter Island. One is Catch Me If You Can, because nobody talks about that movie, but it's amazing. And one is Blood Diamond. Blood Diamond is another one that I don't ever hear anybody talk about. I don't hear anybody talk about it, but it's fantastic. I love that. So those are his 3 ones. But yeah, Shutter Island, man, that one's great, dude. All right, My Comic Planet writes, Rhea Seehorn will star in Vince Gillian's new Apple TV series. I loved her in Better Call Saul. Yeah, now is that official? Because I heard they were looking at doing a spinoff with her. And is it actually a spinoff of Better Call Saul? Like, is she just playing is it a totally different show? Or is it a spinoff with her character? Like, I wasn't clear on that because I didn't read the story. On that, Jay David in the live chat is saying, yes, it's official. Okay, so, but now help me out here. Is she the same character from Better Call Saul, or is it a totally different show? Is it a totally different show? And nobody seems to know in the live chat. But they are saying, Riley is saying, yeah, it was ordered for 2 seasons. Okay. Yeah, nobody else seems to know either. But I would be interested to know that. So thanks for the info. Brad C is saying it's a totally different show. Okay, there you go. I just kind of assumed it was a spinoff, but it's good to know it's a different show. All right. Dinosaurs Limbo writes, do you have a movie you change your mind on constantly? For me, it's Swiss Army Man. I like that movie, and I always have. Nope. I mean, I can count on one hand the number of movies I've seen my whole life that I've changed my life on. Like the Star Wars prequels, Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards, and that's it. Like I think those are the only 2 movies I've ever changed my mind on, but I've always ever changed my mind on them once, and that's it. So no, I actually quite like Swiss Army Man, but hey, if it's one that's right in the middle for you that makes you flip back and forth, I totally get it. All right. Remmer Bulldog writes, worst horror trope you hate. Mine is the empty car never works. That's a bad one. Also, here's one that I hate. You know what? You know ghosts. You know what ghosts love to do? Turn lights on and off. Yeah. Really? That's what ghosts do. Ghosts turn lights on and off. That's what being a ghost is. Like, you become a ghost, it's like, okay, you got to take your training course in turning lights on and off. Like, that one always gets me. Every time there's like a spooky movie or one of the spirits involved, inevitably at some point lights turn on or off. That one always bothers me. I don't know why, but Jay David said they also love knocking on doors. Yep, for some reason ghosts, they love opening and closing doors too, knocking on doors and opening and closing doors. Craziest things that ghosts like to do. All right. Next up, the Super Ranger Mud Truck writes, thoughts on home theater projector, DLP, LCD, other. Well, I have right behind me, you can barely see it. If I drive right there, where is it? Right here. That is a short throw, Hisense Pro Plus short throw digital projector that goes onto this 120-inch screen. And I love it. Now, full disclosure, they sent it to me for free. I think it's like a $4,000 projector. They sent it to me for free, asking me if I wanted to review it. I'm going to be doing a review of it. I wanted to have at least like a month with it before I really gave a review. I'm going to do a review of it probably in the next couple of weeks. But I'll just give you, spoiler alert, it's awesome. It's awesome. I love it. I've never liked, projectors always look dim and not a lot of contrast, but I'm telling you, this short throw projector by Hisense is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I love it. All right. Let's see. Corey Nick writes, hey, John, do you have any thoughts on the new Fletch movie with John Hamm? I haven't seen it. I don't even know where you can see it. First of all, I love John Hamm, but I saw the trailer for it and I'm like, I mean, it's all right, but I haven't had a chance to see it yet. LJ writes, I'm impressed with Andor series. Are you impressed? Yeah, I love it. I think it's fantastic. Which is great because you guys know I have not been very happy with Star Wars Disney Plus shows other than Mandalorian. Like Book of Boba Fett, I was disappointed with. Obi-Wan had its moments, started really strong, but by the time Obi-Wan was done, I was pretty disappointed with it, to be honest with you. So to have a Star Wars show like this come out and absolutely love it, I love it. I think it's fantastic. If you guys think episodes 1 through 3 are great, wait till you see episodes 4 through 6. I've seen the first 6 episodes. It just gets better. It just gets better. All right. Let's see. Next up. Daya writes, does the revenue come mostly from super chats or sponsors? No, not a very large percentage of our revenue comes from super chats, to be honest with you. It's actually quite a small percentage of our revenue comes from super chats. I mean, don't get me wrong, the super chats are amazing. The additional revenue that brings in for the channel helps us hire people like Amy and Chris and Aaron and stuff like that. It's great. But yeah, the vast majority of our revenue comes from Google AdSense and our sponsors. Google AdSense and our sponsors roughly contribute about the same amount. Our sponsorship nearly doubled. With all the sponsors that we have, that nearly doubled our channel's revenue, which allowed us to get a new office and to get new equipment and to bring people on full time and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, super chats, they absolutely contribute. When you guys send in super chats, you are absolutely supporting the show. But yeah, it's a smaller thing compared to it's a much smaller percentage compared to those other things. I see Chris Davidson's asking in the live chat, does John answer any non-paid questions? Well, I'm going to, first of all, paid questions get priority because if people are contributing to support the channel, they deserve to go to the front of the line. But every day on the John Campea Show, we answer, half of our show is dedicated to free questions. So all of our main topics come from our viewers. That's all free. Our Mint Mobile hotline questions of the day, those are all non-paid free questions. The only questions we answer that are raised by you guys in support is when we get to the super chat section. That's the only time we do paid ones. All the other ones, the big bulk of the John Campea Show, the main topics are all free questions from our audience. Our Mint Mobile hotline questions of the day are free ones from our audience. But yeah, when we get into the super chat stuff, that's when we prioritize the super chat ones. That's when we prioritize those. Hope that answers that. All right. Let's see here. My Comic Planet writes, John, have you seen Dahmer yet? No, but the trailer looks insane. Evan Peters looks incredible in it. Looks like a very creepy and edgy show. Might start tonight. I didn't even know it started already. I just saw the trailer for the first time the other day. I had no idea that the show even started. I will be checking that out. Thanks for letting me know about that, man. Let's see. Release the breakdance cut. Never. Just saw God's Country and Confess. Fletch. Let me say. Just saw God's Country and Confess. Fletch. Oh, Confess Fletch. The movie Confess Fletch. Love both of them. Seeing Clerks 3 Saturday. I have Clerks 3 here at my house, and I have not watched it yet. And I need to get around to doing that because Clerks 2 is like a top 20 favorite all-time film for me, and I love Kevin Smith. So I got to get around to watching that. I got to watch that this weekend too, release. All right, Andy writes, it's so cool that Gore in Thor Love and Thunder has control of the shadows and can come out from them. It's almost as if he's Batman or something. I was wondering, where's Andy going with that? Where's Andy going? Yeah, it's almost like he comes out like he's Batman or something. Well said, Andy. Well said. All right, Chris Warden writes, I know you just mentioned that you don't watch much wrestling these days. But what are your thoughts on AEW? In my opinion, their quarterly pay-per-views are can't miss. Yeah, I watched a little bit of AEW because Ann and Kaori would get together and watch a lot of wrestling. Listen, AEW has a great product from what I saw. They seem to emphasize the actual wrestling a little bit more. It looks like they've scooped up a lot of talent from the WWE. I like the fact that WWE actually has a legitimate competitor now because they've gone a while without a legitimate competitor, and it's good to see that they have one now. All right, Joshua Limming writes, hey, John, any thoughts on a follow-up to your documentary, Prince of Peace, God of War? Thanks. There's really nothing to follow up, right? Like I did another documentary, Movie Trailers, A Love Story, which thank you to everybody who supported that project and continues to rent it and buy it. So thank you to everybody for that. But yeah, Prince of Peace, God of War, it doesn't really need a follow-up. I think I said everything in it that there was to say. So no, probably not a direct follow-up to that one. But hey, I'm glad you know it. I'm glad you know that I have that documentary out there. Thank you for that. All right. Lewis Selders writes, hey, John, are you a fan of Rush? Slap it to bass. Of course, Rush, the great Canadian band. Of course. They're my favorite band, and of course, good Canadian kids. Damn right they're good Canadian kids. Neil Peart, R.I.P., maybe the greatest drummer of all time. Geddy Lee. I mean, yeah, just great Canadian true rock band. Well, they're not my favorite band, but they are one of the greats. Absolutely one of the greats. All right. Next up, Ismail Montoya writes, hey, John, would you consider House of the Dragon as the best thing from HBO? Also, glad the memberships are back. I don't know what you mean. Like, would I consider it the best HBO show of all time? No. I mean, ask me that at least after the season's done, but maybe after it's had a couple of seasons. You're talking about HBO, man. You're talking about the network that had Sopranos, for heaven's sakes. The original Game of Thrones. I mean, tons and tons and tons of others. So I would say I think it's the best thing they're airing right now. I'll say House of the Dragon, I think, is the best thing that HBO is currently doing, that is current right now. But all time, no. I wouldn't say it's all, especially not after like what are we at? 5 episodes? Especially not after 5 episodes. Juno Faulkner writes, hey, can you recount the story of how you and Anne met? Did you shoot your first shot, or did she? And how did you or her do it? So the way I originally met Anne was I'm friends with a couple of filmmakers named Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor. Now they wrote and directed the Jason Statham Crank and Crank 2 movies. They also did Gamer. They also did Ghost Rider 2. Anyway, they were producing another movie that starred Milo Ventimiglia. Now, you might remember Milo Ventimiglia from Heroes, and he was one of the main guys in This Is Us. And he played Rocky's son in Rocky 6. Anyway, so Mark and Brian were producing this movie called, what was it called? Pathology. The name of the movie is Pathology. And so Mark and Brian were producing that movie. And Milo was the star of it. So great. Milo was the star of that film. So as they were wrapping production, like as they were wrapping post-production on the film, Mark and Brian got a hold of me and they said, hey, do you think you could throw a post-production wrap party for Pathology and invite a whole bunch of the other online film pundits to come to it? Because that was kind of their way of wanting to get some buzz and some promotion for the movie. And I said, sure. So what they did was they organized a big wrap screening. So it was like a screening of the film for everybody who was involved in the film and for these online journalists that I invited. And then they asked me to throw a party. And I threw a party. And this, oh, by the way, this is a picture from that movie Pathology. The guys had me down and visit the set while they were where were they shooting the movie? I want to say New Mexico. I'm not 100% sure, but I want to say New Mexico. Anyway, they were shooting the movie. Milo Ventimiglia plays a killer doctor in it. And in between takes, you know, he took that picture with me. It was great. I love Milo. So this is another one with me and Milo and the guys from, where did it go? Oh yeah, that's another one. That's the other guys from Hero. So Milo, he had a online fan community, and it was called the Divide Social Club. The DSC was the name of Milo's online fan community, right? And he wanted to invite a couple of members of the DSC that lived in the Los Angeles area to come to this wrap party that I was throwing. And a young woman by the name of Ann Ora was a part of that DSC fan community. So she became one of the lucky people that got an invite. I think they invited like 10 people of the DSC to come to this wrap party. And yeah, and she was there. I met her that night, although one of the filmmakers was hitting on her that night, so I didn't really talk to her that much. I met her that night. And then the next day, I had Mark, Brian, and Milo on my live show the next day. And we were taking calls, and Ann was one of the people that called in. And if some of you people, why does Ann have the same last name as Ray? Because Ann and Ray are brother and sister. Like Ray is my brother-in-law, for those of you who didn't know. Most of you think I think know that, but for those of you who didn't know, Ray is my brother-in-law. So Ann called into the show and asked the producer if she could have my contact information. And the producer asked me, can this girl get your contact information? I'm like, yeah, I remember her for sure. And that's how we met. So Ann kind of made the first move, which is kind of ridiculous. But Ann made the first move and yeah, and we got together. So that is how Ann and I met. So that's probably, for some of you, that might be the fourth or fifth time you've heard me answer that question, but hopefully that gives you some light on that. All right. Press Any Key writes, do you need to hire any web guys or East Coast correspondents for the John Campea Show? Nope. I have no need for any web guys or any East Coast correspondents. I don't need correspondents anywhere, but thank you for asking, Press Any Key. All right, Santiago Lugo writes, do you think Elvis will get a Best Picture nomination? No. But, I mean, that all depends. Like, maybe Amsterdam isn't as good as we think it's going to be, and there'll be an extra spot available. Or maybe Babylon isn't going to be as good as we think it's going to be, and maybe there'll be an extra spot available. But my guess right now is that it won't. But who knows? You never know. It has a chance. Justin Lee writes, how did it truthfully feel? I don't know what this means. How did it truthfully feel? Oh, okay, I didn't understand what you were trying to say. How did it truthfully feel when the ridiculous RRR criticism came at you? Were you affected emotionally? How do you deal with things like this? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I had promised my audience for a long time I was going to sit down and watch the Indian film RRR, right? I said, man, I'm hearing all these great things about it. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I'm going to sit down and watch it. So finally, the night came where I was going to sit down and watch RRR. And I watched it, and I got about 15 minutes into it, and I just realized, like, all you really need is 15 minutes of the movie, and I was able to tell, this movie isn't for me, right? It's not for me. This movie isn't going to work for me. So, and it's a long movie. It's like a 3-hour movie. So I thought, you know what? I have a lot of other things I could watch. So instead of spending the next 3 hours, I can already tell from the stylings of the film that it's just not for me. It's perfectly fine. I'm not going to finish it. So I had told my audience that I was going to watch it and that I was sitting down to watch it that night. So I got on Twitter and I said, hey guys, I watched like the first 15 minutes of RRR. I got through the part where this guy's fighting all these guys and stuff like that. And it's just not for me. I tapped out. And I decided to go and watch something else. So like, I didn't say, man, this movie sucks or anything like that. I just said, guys, you know, because I told everybody I was going to watch it that night. I told everybody I'd promised to watch it. Said I watched like 15 minutes of it. It's not for me. It's not working for me. So I'm going to go watch something else. Holy shit. The amount of shit-stained crybabies that came out of the woodwork when somebody had the audacity to say, hey, you know what, I watched a bit of it, not for me. Didn't work for me. It's just like this happened and this happened. It's, you know, it's not clicking for me. I mean, hey, if y'all like it, God bless, that's great. But I mean, this isn't working for me, so I'm going to go watch something else. Holy shit. The amount of crying eyes, baby shit, little fucking criers that came out of the woodwork when I did that was outrageous. It was outrageous. And all I could do is look at it and laugh. All I could do is say, you lose all credibility to me. Like, I fucking care whether you think I have credibility. Like, anyway, so all I could do was laugh at it. But it did kind of turn me off going like, that's it. From now on, I'm never going to talk about these movies again. Because the response to it was more toxic than when I liked The Last Jedi. Because obviously, you got a bunch of whiny babies that can't stand it if you like something they don't like. So I came out and said I like The Last Jedi, and holy shit, like the shitstorm that came out from that. But I did. I like The Last Jedi. Fuck you if you didn't. That's fine. If you didn't like it, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But fuck you if it bothered you that I did. Because I don't give a shit what anybody else thinks. But the RRR response was worse. It was worse. So, I mean, all I could do was just sit back and laugh at the crybabies. It's like, really? I remember one guy wrote that I'm absolutely lost for words and I can barely breathe. I'm so bothered by the fact that blah, blah, blah. And I remember I wrote back to him, I said, really? The fact that somebody just mentioned that they didn't appreciate a movie the way you appreciate it was enough to bother you? I said, all right, man. Hey, if that's all it takes to really get under your skin and bother you, that somebody didn't like a movie as much as you did. But yeah, hey, listen, when I have to have this conversation with everybody who works for me, when everybody who starts working for me, if they're going to be on camera, all right, like not fact checker Jonathan, not Ray, but like anybody who's going to work for me and is going to be on camera, when they start, I have to have a conversation with them and basically tell them this stuff is going to happen. When you earn your living by getting on camera and giving your thoughts and opinions on something as subjective as movies and TV, I said, I tell people you've got to be prepared that every opinion you have, half the people out there are going to hate it. And some of them may hate you just because you have a different opinion from them. Right? Just because I say I like this or I don't like this, whatever. And you're going to open up your social media and you're going to see all this type of feedback. And that's part of it. When you give your opinion for a living, you got to know that, most people are great. Most people understand that opinions are opinions and we all get to have different ones. But there are chunks of people out there who don't understand that. And they feel like if you don't like a movie they like, they take that as a personal attack on them. I love this movie and you said something bad about the movie. That means you're saying something bad about me. I mean, that's how some people think, right? So but I tell everybody who works for me or anybody who asks for advice when they're getting involved in this sort of thing, it's like, you got to be ready for that and just understand it's going to come. And it's coming from people who are absolutely meaningless. Like, you don't have to pay any attention to it, but you just got to understand that's part of the deal. But yeah, I was surprised to see that the fandom of that movie was more toxic than the dark side of the Star Wars fandom. That was eye-opening to me. That was really, really eye-opening to me. But, you know, hey, it is what it is. All right. Let's see here. Where are we at? Releasing the breakdancing cut says Micah Parsons is the best, or is a beast. I can't even remember who Micah Parsons is off the top of my head, to be honest with you. Sorry about that release. Santiago Lugo writes, so is Taylor a producer for the John Campea Show now? No, Taylor is my assistant. So some of you guys might hear Taylor's voice from time to time coming across the airways on the show. Taylor is actually my personal assistant, but I only have him doing personal assistant stuff for me half the time. And the other half of the time, he's kind of assistant for everybody else in the office, particularly fact checker Jonathan, who is like the number 2 in command of our show, is Jonathan Voico. He is our director of operations. So Jonathan asked me, hey, for the time we have Taylor in the office, can I utilize him to do some of these things to help out? I said, absolutely. Whenever Taylor's in the office, Jonathan, you utilize him the way you want to utilize him. And Taylor's been great. But no, Taylor is not a producer on the show, but he's been doing great around the office, actually. Let's see here. Now we're at Andy, who writes, I honestly didn't know what knuckle dragging meant until I looked it up. Now I get what you mean when you insult stupid people. Yeah, I mean, sometimes when I come across like racist, homophobic, whatever people, I refer to them as knuckle draggers. And once you look it up, you'll get the understanding of the meaning. And if that offends anybody, good, it's meant to. Okay, next up, That Movie Geek writes, rewatching Nope and wondering, what are your thoughts on aliens? And do you think we are alone? Thanks for everything you do. Listen, when you look at the vastness of the universe, it's mathematically improbable that there's not some intelligent life out there. I actually remember back in my seminary days, for those of you who didn't know, I did Bible college and seminary. There was even some theological discussion about the existence of aliens. And I remember this one theologian got up and said, in pondering why, and by the way, this may not fit with your belief system. That's totally fine. I'm just telling you guys this as an interesting story. But one theologian got up and mentioned, it's hard to imagine why God would have created the universe so big and so vast if not to have other intelligent life out there somewhere. So I remember just as a seminary student, I thought that was really interesting too. So, but yeah, I believe aliens exist. Do I believe aliens have ever been to Earth? I don't. But do I believe that it could happen someday? Sure. Am I willing to have any kind of an argument about that with anybody? Absolutely not. Not something worth arguing over. All right. Jan Michael Marshall writes, hey, John, I've been a huge fan of yours since I was in middle school in Japan. Well, thank you so much for that, Jan Michael. And now I'm a college student in Canada. Nice. Your show has always been part of my daily routine. Thanks for everything. Oh, thank you so much, man. Appreciate that. I wish you told me where in Canada you're from or where you're currently living. But thank you. It's an honor and a privilege. Like I say that at the start of every show, but I mean it from the heart. It is an honor and privilege every day that I get to get on camera and talk to you guys and have conversations with you guys about all the stuff that we love, movies, movie news, TV, streaming, all sorts of good stuff. It's amazing. So thank you for doing me the honor of watching the shows that we do. So thanks for that, man. All right. That's all the super chats that came in, but I still have a little bit of time here. So I'm just going to go over to the live chat and see what you guys are saying in the live chat. Somebody's letting people know my name is Giovanni. Yes, my real name is actually Giovanni. It says John, but my real name is Giovanni. That is my Italian name. I was named after my grandfather, Giovanni. There you go. Some people, Bulb Stark is saying the truth is out there. Yep. Lego Dude 11 writes, hey, John, Just wondering, how did you start out in the movie industry? I just love movies. And so a long time ago, I was blogging when I was living in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. I was blogging to keep everybody back home in Ontario up to date with all the things I was doing. And I realized like 80% of my blog posts was about the movies I was watching. So I decided to start a totally separate blog just about movies, and I called it The Movie Blog. And it was so early in the days of blogging that the URL, the domain name, themovieblog.com was available. And yeah, that's how I started. Eventually built it up to I got like 500,000 readers a month. And then Time Magazine did an article on me. And then I made my first check from Google AdSense for $400. And when I got that first check from Google AdSense for $400, a couple of my friends took me to lunch one day, and I call it the intervention. And they sat down with me and they said, John, we're here to tell you need to quit your job. I was working at the law firm at the time. And they were like, you need to quit your job. Your most passion, as long as we've known you, your biggest passion is movies. And you're actually bringing in a little bit of money now. You just made $400. You need to dedicate yourself full time to doing this. So I did. I went in, I quit the law firm. I moved into a 0-bedroom, 400 square foot bachelor apartment to make my money last as long as I could. And I tried to give it a go with the movie blog, and the rest is history. So that's how all that worked out, man. All right. Let's see. Richard Troy is asking in the live chat, do you think Dick Tracy needs a remake? I think Dick Tracy might be outdated. I think if you're going to try to do a Dick Tracy movie today, you'd have to totally reinvent him to the point that I don't even know that it would look like Dick Tracy anymore. That's just kind of my thoughts on that at any rate. Let's see here. Patrick Durling writes, how many times do the Leafs have to choke before you completely give up on them? I'll never give up on the Leafs. I'll never give up. They have been my team since birth. So I'm ride or die with the Leafs for the rest of my life. That's just, I'm a Maple Leafs guy. I bleed blue and white. And I will, they've never been to the Stanley Cup as long as I've been alive. Forget winning the Stanley Cup. They've never been to the Stanley Cup as long as I've been alive. But at this point, I'm ride or die with them, buddy. I'm ride or die with them. Let's see. G Money writes, love the late night streams, John. Big fan of you and the crew watching Dread tonight. Ooh, yeah, watch Dread. We were just talking about it's what is this, 10th anniversary? Yesterday was its official 10th anniversary. Great movie. Carl Urban. Go watch that and enjoy it. Let's see. Jamal B. Castro writes, hey, John, do you think we will ever get a new live action Street Fighter movie? I don't think so, to be honest. If so, what would you think about Chad Stileski or David Leitch directing? I don't care about X director directing X movie. I don't answer those questions, so I don't care. But honestly, they've taken a couple of kicks at the can with Street Fighter. I don't know that there's a real story there to tell. And so my guess is I don't see anybody putting up $100 million to try it. I just don't see it. Now, maybe it will. Maybe it will. People are desperate for IP these days, so who knows, maybe. But my guess is I don't think we're going to see another like legitimate Hollywood live action Street Fighter theatrical movie. I don't think that we're going to get that again. Let's see. Bailey Zito writes, do you think there's any chance Black Panther 2 passes Top Gun as the #1 movie this year? We just talked about this on the John Campea Show the other day, where we looked at the two movies that have the chance to top Top Gun are Black Panther 2 and Avatar 2. I think Avatar has the better chance of beating Top Gun because Avatar is the #1 film of all time. Like literally the first Avatar movie made double what Top Gun Maverick did. So if Avatar 2 only makes half of what the first Avatar made, it'll still beat Top Gun. So I think Avatar 2 has the better chance, but yeah, Black Panther 2 definitely has a shot. It has a shot. I don't think it'll beat 1.4 billion, but I think it has a shot. Okay. I think that's a shot. Okay, time for one or two more here in the live chat. Let's see. Elijah Cassidy writes, what do you think is the best way to get into film journalism? Go to school. I mean, I know nobody wants to hear a way that's going to cost them time or money. Everybody wants to hear an easy answer. But honestly, the best way is go to school. Like when I was running AMC and I was running Collider and stuff like that, when resumes would come in for certain roles, the ones that had journalism training, like they went to school for journalism, those ones automatically went into the second round pile. So like I would get in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of resumes, right? And I'd go through them and my first round, my first pass at all the resumes would just recreate two piles. No and maybe. And if anybody had had journalism training, they automatically went to the maybe pile. Automatically. So about 20% of the resumes would go into the maybe pile and 80% of the resumes would go into the no. And then I'd go through it a little bit more, but honestly, the best way is go to school for journalism. That's the best way. I know people like me, employers like me, that's one of the first things I'll look for. And if you've got that on your resume, it doesn't guarantee you anything, but you'll definitely have a leg up. You'll definitely have a leg up. As far as not doing that, the next best way is, and nobody wants to hear this either, but start your own movie blog, movie podcast, or movie YouTube channel. Work tirelessly at it, grow a bit of your own audience so that when you go to, like, say, a Screen Rant, or you go to an IGN, or you go to whatever, you can actually show them, number one, I am truly passionate about this. I've been working on this for 3 years. Two, you're able to actually show them that you have the ability and skill to do that because you have a long catalog of work you can show them. And number three, you're also able to prove that you have the ability to attract and grow an audience on your own. You don't have to have 1 million subscribers or 100,000 subscribers, but I mean, if you can work at it, show you're talented at it, and show that you have the ability to grow a bit of an audience on your own, then that gives you a leg up on a lot of other potential applicants. If you show that ability. So yeah, a lot of people have come to me and said, John, I would love to work for you. Have you done anything? No. Have you gone to school for this? No. But let me come and work for you anyway. It's like, so yeah, you got to do something that shows that you can bring value to whoever you're going to go work for. So number one, go to school for journalism. Number two, start your own blog, podcast, or YouTube channel. Work at it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Be dedicated to it. Show that you have the skill and the ability to do it well, and show that you have the ability to attract and maintain an audience. If you can do that, that'll give you a leg up as well. Hopefully you found that helpful. All right. Let's see. Alejandro writes, when will DC be a studio? It technically is right now, but they need a head of it. So once Warner Brothers hires a head for it, that will bring in, they'll officially be a studio. Let's see here. Let's see. One more. I'm going to try to pick out one more. Let's see here. Rugger's asking, have I seen Clerks 3 yet? No, I answered that earlier. I have it here, but I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Tyler Hoffman writes, what are your thoughts on Hell or High Water? Brilliant. Ty Sheridan, Property, starring Chris Pine, Jeff Bridges. It's fantastic. Hell or High Water is a magnificent movie. Absolutely magnificent movie. Absolutely love it. Okay, guys, listen, it's now past 8 o'clock. That means it's time for 8 o'clock my time, I should say. That means it's time for me to wrap things up here. I got a few things I got to do in order to be ready to watch Lord of the Rings in an hour, so I got to split now. Hey guys, thank you so much for being here and joining me tonight. I hope you enjoyed this little open Ask Me Anything. Thank you to everybody who sent in the super chats because number one, you gave me great and fun things to talk about. Number two, you supported our channel as you did, so thank you. Thank you to everybody in the live chat as well, talking amongst yourselves, sending in questions to me as well. Appreciate all of you so much. Don't forget, do come back to the channel tomorrow morning. I won't be on it myself. It is the non-John Campea Show, the non-Campea Show. But you got Chris Carr, Amy Newman, Robert Meyer Burnett, of course, Ray Ora, Jonathan Voight will be there. So tune in for the show tomorrow. And I will be on in the afternoon tomorrow for our Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power after show. I will be on that show. So I'll see you tomorrow afternoon, but make sure you watch the main show in the morning as well. So guys, that'll do it for me for tonight. Thanks a lot for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends,